What are some trends you see emerging in the sector in the coming months?
Months. Okay, well,
Months
then
and years.
you can hold us accountable very quickly here. Let's schedule a tweet in 3 months and see if I was right. I'll go with the easiest one, because the first one that starts this question gets the easier one. I think that the looming recession and bear market is typically a fertile ground for regulatory actions, typically, right? A legislator wants to protect users, investors, and the economy, and it's typically through, with a lag of several years, but it's typically through these things that the clarity gets acquired. So I wouldn't be surprised if the conversation picks up pace a little bit in the next couple of months. Difficult to say then what follows, but I think that's back in the radar of a lot of regulators.
I'm going to take this sort of like slightly implicit other side of that trade, which is that, yes, this is fertile grounds for accelerated regulation, but the good thing about regulation is that actually it's a form of clarity. And one of the things that's been an encumbrance so far has also been ambiguity as to what regulation demands. Like if there was like a set of regulations tomorrow in the US that was much more constraining than what we currently have to consider, but that if clarity, then as a business you can make a decision as to whether you want to basically bear the costs of meeting the regulation and then go for your market or not. But it just actually what it actually does is, from my perspective, it actually just takes away the unknowns and some of the risk that's associated to it, which actually breeds a lot of risk aversion, especially for operators. I also think that like when I'm kind of running out of ideas here of like what could go wrong next, to be perfectly honest, and that's a good thing, because once all the downside is priced in, then I think that opens up a much more compelling path towards upside. So there is broad topics that always need solving. Like the user growth is the one that I obsess about, that we obsess about as a company. But if you just tally up all the negative and all the challenges that we've now overcome and that we're still overcoming, once the sky's clear around this topic, I just think that there's a lot of grounds to be very optimistic about actually what's going to be happening towards the end of the year in the industry.
Yeah, if you move that 2 months to a few years time, I think that there's definitely ground to be optimistic. I think one thing, once you're in a bear market and you're addicted to a negative news cycle, it's really hard to see past the gloomy headlines. But there are hundreds and thousands of engineers and people like us that will just show up every morning and keep trying improving what we do. And if you just play, step back and play the story, to its natural conclusion, you typically get, on any industry, you get, cheaper block space, faster, lower latency, higher scalability, more company democratizes access, it becomes much easier to build on it. And then it becomes truly what, back in the early days when we thought this was the new internet. Those analogies are not too far off once you really take the economics down and scalability up. So I'm, as always, quite excited about it. I need to be reminded every now and then, particularly after last week.
We are almost as humans sort of trained to understand a linear path and to gain comfort from a linear path. So like if we're not going from point A to point B, in a straight line and as intended, then all bets are off. The fact is that when it comes to technology or actually anything that relates to progress, like it's a lot more volatile than this. It happens as a set of step functions and milestones that oftentimes are very, very difficult to anticipate. And we're really in the middle of one of those situations where like the volatility of the market, the path towards where we want to be is being tested every day. But the fact is that it was never going to be linear, and that's entirely fine.
Listeners, make sure to check out New Credo platform and let us know what you think. Your feedback is invaluable to help Credo continue to evolve and enhance its services. And don't forget to keep your eye out on our social channels for all the latest news and updates. We'll be sure to keep you updated on any exciting developments as they unfold. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.